It is 10:02. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans season concluded on Saturday, falling 19-16 to the Cincinnati Bengals in Nissan Stadium in the divisional round, despite the Titans sacking Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow 9 times, tying a playoff record. 3 interceptions from Ryan Tannehill, too much to overcome, including picks thrown on the first and final pass attempts of the day. Evan McPherson's 52-yard field goal at the end of regulation sent the Bengals into the AFC Championship. It was a wild weekend of divisional round action in the NFL playoffs, with the road team winning the first 3 games of the weekend by a last-second field goal. The 49ers upset the Packers at Lambeau Field, and the Rams held off the Bucks in Tampa Bay. Sunday night, Buffalo and Kansas City played out a thriller that produced 3 lead changes and 25 points in the final 2:05 of regulation. That's an NFL postseason record. The game went into overtime, tied up at 36. Pat Mahomes took the first possession, connected with Travis Kelce for a game-winning touchdown as the Chiefs won it 42-36. They will host Cincinnati in the AFC title game next Sunday. The Rams will host the 49ers at SoFi Stadium. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Okay, here we go on this Monday. How is everybody feeling out there? Had a little time to sleep on it? Perhaps you took it easy on Sunday. Maybe you left the house. Maybe you didn't. But we're going to have a bit of a come to football Jesus moment for the next 3 hours today. What's going on? Buck Reising here with you until 1 o'clock. Lucas Panzica is making it happen behind the scenes. We got Harry Douglas, former Titans wide receiver and now ESPN analyst extraordinaire. He's going to join the show at 12:20 to talk about what the hell that was at Nissan Stadium on Saturday afternoon. You know the number, 615-737-1045. That's how you jump in on the conversation, 615-737-1045. Reaction to that game, that 19-16 atrocity that took place in front of nearly 70,000 Titans fans in Nissan Stadium, in front of the football gods and everybody sitting at home on their couches watching the divisional round, the first of 4 games that were absolutely bat bleep crazy, insane. And yet, for the team that went first and lost first, the result is even more improbable the more times you watch that back. You should be pissed off today for what it is that happened in the divisional round against the Bengals. You should be livid, absolutely sick to your stomach. There will be time to talk about, all right, what is the next step at quarterback, given that Ryan Tannehill now in his last 2 home playoff appearances has truly struggled. You should be pissed off about the fact that right now, that's a conversation that we're going to basically have for the next 4 months. There will be plenty of days, there will be plenty of weeks, plenty of months, plenty of hours on this radio show to talk about, all right, how do they pick up the pieces? How do they get Harold Landry re-signed to a contract? What's Jeffrey Simmons going to cost now that he's extension eligible? There's a million different ways that we're going to look at this from every angle to see how they can try and make this thing still go in this window, because it shrinks really fast. But today we're going to talk about what the hell they did on that football field, because there was some of it that was otherworldly. There was some of it that was fantastic. And ultimately, again, in a scene of a movie that we have seen millions of times before, they did the thing that they absolutely could not afford to do. They lost the game the only way that they could have possibly lost that game. They literally threw it away. 3 times to be specific. 9 sacks. And Mike Vrabel told us after the game, maybe we had too many. And I get that Mike's pissed. He should be. That was awful. Awful. He's allowed to be emotional after the loss. The players, shocked, stunned at the podium with us at Nissan Stadium. Over and over again, the line, whether it was Jeffrey Simmons, Kevin Byard, Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Taylor Lewan, all of them looked shell-shocked when they came to the podium to meet with the media after that game because they couldn't believe it either. It's obscene to think about the amount of times that they had to put a team that wasn't all that good away. My God, were the Cincinnati Bengals pedestrian. They tried to get Joe Burrow killed out there. Your defense did a hell of a job helping them along that path. And ultimately, in critical situations, the thing blew up in ways that I sat there in the press box watching and saw the air get sucked out of that stadium each and every time. And the words after the fact from the head coach are, got to play better, got to coach better. Man, was that a gut check in a whole different way. You've heard that line a million different times. It's never felt quite like that before. Because this time, it's never felt more real. And you're left with a million different questions. 1 seeds don't go out and do something like that, even though both of them did this weekend. And we'll get into a larger conversation about Ryan Tannehill because he, as the trigger man, throwing those 3 interceptions, he's going to be looked at with the most scrutiny throughout the course of this. But when you go back and watch that football game, and we'll talk about this together, you'll see how much different it felt watching it in real time with the knowledge of what exactly is going to happen. It'll make you sick to your stomach. 615-737-1045. That's the number. I want you to hear from Ryan Tannehill because he'll put it into his own words. Mike Vrabel told us after the game, nobody feels worse than Ryan does right now. I believe him. There's plenty of people who feel wretched about this, but listen to Ryan Tannehill trying to describe his emotions after this 19-16 loss.
Oh, it's brutal. I mean, no one in the locker room thought we'd be where we're at right now. A lot of confidence going into this game, a lot of confidence even throughout the game. Things were going our way, but we were battling and finding ways to make plays and wanted to put ourselves in position to win it in the fourth. And we had an opportunity to. We just didn't make those plays.
They certainly did. You probably could have survived that game with 1 interception. Hell, you probably could have survived it throwing 2. But on that 3rd and 5, after inexplicably letting so much time bleed off the clock before you got to the line of scrimmage to snap that ball just to force a throw and throw the 3rd interception of the game, when the Cincinnati Bengals should never have gotten the ball back in regulation. Inexcusable. Inexcusable. They're going to have to run largely this same group back. There are going to be some tweaks that have to be made, as will be the case in any offseason. And maybe it's not the worst thing in the world that the bones of a 12-win football team are going to be what you've largely got to work with. There's going to be a lot of talk about how they can try and lift this thing back up. But today, and probably all of yesterday, and in the hours after that game on Saturday night, you had to be looking at that and thinking, how the hell did they just do that? How? How could it possibly be so? We're going to take your phone calls on this. Reaction all day long. 615-737-1045. That's the number. The lines are loaded. We're going to get to them here in just a second. You'll hear from Mike Vrabel, Jeffrey Simmons, Kevin Byard, Taylor Lewan. There's a lot of people who we spoke to after the game in the bowels of Nissan Stadium after the Titans' 19-16 loss in the divisional round. Stick around. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back on this Monday. Buck Reising here with you until 1 o'clock, talking about this Titans divisional loss to the Cincinnati Bengals. Let you know how I feel about it. Now I want to hear from you. It was difficult to kind of process. 615-737-1045, that's the number. Listening to their post-game comments, listen to Derrick Henry before we go to the phones. Talk about the idea that this team that had its best opportunity since, I don't know when, 2008, to win the Super Bowl, to make the Super Bowl. I mean, I guess 2019, given that they were put out the game before the Super Bowl, perhaps that was their best opportunity. But this felt like the year. All the cosmos aligned, right? January 22nd, 2022. Derrick Henry, 22, out on the field for the first time. Number 22 scores the first Titans touchdown of the game at a King Cat Wildcat formation. Derrick Henry takes it in on his own and seemed to be, fine. They were getting some solid play out of Derrick Henry. And by the way, we'll talk about the carry disparity between he and Deontay Foreman later on in the show. But this was Derrick Henry talking about the idea that, they're not going to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, they said it perfect. Pretty much it. We have high expectations and wanted to get it done this year. And I'm just shocked. I'm talking to y'all about this right now. I didn't expect to do this, and we all didn't. So, yeah.
Nobody expected it. Not even them. 615-737-1045. Brian in Nashville is up first on 1045 The Zone. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Buck. Good morning, Buck. Man, this is depressing, man.
It's tough.
It is depressing. So, I know we're kind of stuck with Tannehill's contract, right?
Yes. I mean, listen, and just quickly, Brian, because I know a lot of people are asking about what the quarterback solution will be, and we'll spend a lot of time on that during this week. Ryan Tannehill is under contract. He's on your books for $38 million, north of $38 million next year, and a dead cap hit of over 54. Go ahead, Brian.
So, is there a way that Ryan Tannehill can look in the mirror and say, listen, I'm not worth this money, and I'm holding my guys back. So I'm going to restructure my contract again for a less amount and be a backup to like a Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers or a better quarterback? Is there a way he can just, be a man? I mean, I feel like he owes Titan Nation this. He owes his teammates this. Look, I'm not worth this money, and if I take this money and rob the Titans, they're not getting what they're paying for. And secondly, can he just retire? Look at Jake Locker. He could never get it going. So he said, hey, I'm going to give it up, and I'm going to give them their money back.
Thanks for the call, Brian. Lucas, you're quick on the trigger back there today. You faded him down twice in the middle of that call. You okay back there?
We're off and running, aren't we?
I mean, you tell me, buddy. You're the one back there answering him. How are you today? You seemed a little shook up yesterday.
You know what? It hurt on Saturday. Not gonna lie, that one got me.
We were texting back and forth yesterday, and he was saying to me that he was legitimately distraught at the idea that the Titans had lost, and I was surprised by that reaction. I don't know. I guess maybe just because we're running it through different prisms, and I'm not saying that I'm not surprised. I'm as shocked as anybody, but tough. Honestly, tough. It's done. That's the whole shocking part of it. The finality. You worked so hard all season, and to have it go like that. I mean, we have it on a poll at Buck Reising on Twitter, which is the more gut-wrenching of the losses between Saturday at Nissan Stadium against the Bengals, losing to the Chiefs in 2019 in the championship game at Arrowhead, or the 2008, the last first round one-and-done playoff situation. Because the Titans own 3 of those on their record now. And it is so rare that a 1 seed does not win at least its first game, especially when you look at the inferiority of opponent. I'm telling you, the Bengals are not that good. They're good enough. They're good enough. That quarterback was not getting nearly enough help. And Quentin Spain's weird, tweets on social media, and it was on one of the Bengals players' Instagrams of him, mother bleeping Jeffrey Simmons up and down after his unit allowed 9 sacks and probably more had the refs not been late with their whistles. Like, the Bengals were not that good a football team, and so that twists the knife just a little bit more. We'll talk about Tannehill, because the more that I watch that game back, the more that I'd say Ryan Tannehill was not good. Not good. But there were enough plays made by Ryan Tannehill to win that football game. And when I look at the situational play calling, which we'll go through at some length, and certainly with Harry Douglas when he joins us at 12:20, he was on the sidelines with me. There was a bunch of Titans players who had come back to see this kind of a special moment. The city was so ready for them to push this thing on, to host potentially an AFC championship game and make the Super Bowl as it was supposed to. Storybook ending, right? The whole Derrick Henry thing, 91 different players, on and on and on it goes. And then you pee down your leg in the divisional round against a team that had its quarterback on his back almost the entire time.
I think that's the hardest part for a lot of people, is having the potential celebration that would have come after the game pulled out from under you.
Ugh. I can't imagine what that feels like. Because I still walked to that stadium. I'm not thinking about like the emotional side of it right after the game. I'm thinking, how the hell am I going to write about this? What did they just do? How are they going to explain this after the fact? And then going home and kind of, going about my business, waking up, and Sunday, like opening my phone up to seeing, oh no, people aren't okay right now. This has lasting implications. Jason is in Nashville up next on 104.5 The Zone. Good morning, Jason.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I'm not going to be the popular caller today.
Okay.
I'm probably, nobody's going to really want to hear what I got to say. I'm a 49ers fan, but I live in Nashville, so whenever the Niners are not playing the Titans, I support them. But it just kills me to hear everybody. If you go back the days and the weeks before, Ryan Tannehill was a prince here, and then when King Henry came, oh man, we can have it our way, and we ain't got to be Burger King, and we got this on
Correct.
lock, and all this stuff that they were talking. What I'm saying is, why don't you have that same enthusiasm when it doesn't go your way? Because if you really look at it, they gave you a number 1 seed. How many other teams would have loved to have that? I know it's Super Bowl or bust to you, but I got the same struggles with my team with Jimmy Garoppolo because he's inconsistent. Every time he throws the ball, I get nervous. But what my other point to you, Buck, everybody counted us out as Niners fans. Everybody. Colin Cowherd even said out of his mouth, there's no way that Aaron Rodgers is going to lose. With all the politics, that just goes to show you that anything can happen in the NFL. You can't just base your opinion on what they did in the past, because even though Jimmy Garoppolo is inconsistent, he's one of the most winningest quarterbacks in the playoffs. So I'm just thinking that, man, maybe we need to be glad that our team was at least a number 1 seed, because how long and how often does that even happen? That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for the call, Jason. And I appreciate you bringing that perspective, because there's probably some people who do feel that way. And I'll get into some analysis that was made, and Harry Douglas was one of these people breaking down the film yesterday after the game. Matt Bowen of ESPN as well, who does the NFL matchup show with Greg Cosell. A couple of smart football minds diagnosing what went wrong. And we'll spend some time on Ryan Tannehill. And in conjunction with Ryan Tannehill, we'll spend some time on Todd Downing. Because I will tell you, and you want, Jason said he's going to be the unpopular person today. Hold my beer. Ryan Tannehill's still good enough to win a Super Bowl with. There is probably, I could count on one hand of people that are going to agree with me. But I watched that game while looking at him playing piss poorly, truly, and thinking, Jimmy Garoppolo's in an NFC championship game. Exactly what Jason just laid out. Find a way to make it work.
4-1 in the playoffs in his career.
Garoppolo?
Yep. His only loss was Super Bowl 54.
They low-key own, not even low-key, they're 4-0. The Niners are against Aaron Rodgers with Colin Kaepernick and Jimmy Garoppolo, two quarterbacks who have success but are admittedly limited. I'm not saying that Ryan Tannehill wasn't a big problem on Saturday. There is no disputing that. I am saying that it is the job. Hell, it was the singular reason that Mike Mularkey was fired. Well, let's not say singular reason. It was the most important reason that Mike Mularkey was fired and Mike Vrabel was brought in. It was Marcus Mariota then, but the concept still applies. You were brought here. You were brought here to maximize the ability of your players. I have seen Ryan Tannehill be above average the last 3 seasons. I'm not going to give you recency bias other than to tell you that he was not good on Saturday. And my point to you would be make him better. That's your job. And we'll spend some time on that certainly later on. 615-737-1045. Mahogany is up next on 1045 The Zone. Good morning.
Buck, what's going on, man?
Just chilling.
Man, look. Me and my brothers got on a Zoom call Saturday, or a Google Duo call Saturday after the game, and we took shots and we listened to Simon and Garfunkel's The Sound of Silence in the background the entire time.
That sounds like, do I need to call a self-help line for you? What the hell is that?
I got up and I'm at my workplace this morning, so I'm okay.
Good.
Just we can win with Tannehill. I firmly believe that. But I don't think we can win because of him in the playoffs. I just don't think that's the case. And I think our biggest issue is our offensive coordinator, and something needs to be done. But other than that, man, just hello, darkness, my old friend. I'm out.
I've come to meet with you again. Thank you, Mahogany. Stay with us, buddy. Goodness. Have you ever done that? Called up your buddies, be like, hey, you guys want to get on a Zoom call, take shots, and listen to depressing music?
No, I don't think so.
Sounds deeply concerning, if I'm being
people
honest.
People are going through
it. Lucas is going through it. He's been on the phones all day. This is going to be another one of those Popeyes waitress memes with him just slumped over after 3 hours of fielding phone calls. Listen to Blaine Bishop, all right? So they had Titans talk back on Saturday night after the game, as they always do. Blaine, Mickey Ryan, Kevin Dyson. They take your phone calls. They react in real time. And I heard this on my drive home from Nissan Stadium after that game. Blaine Bishop losing his mind because I bring up Ryan Tannehill, and you bring up the first interception. Let's take it piece by piece, right? First play, first non-special teams play of the football game. It's an interception. Julio Jones is the target. Ryan Tannehill is a beat late on the throw. Jesse Bates smells it, feels it in his soul, is right there to snatch the ball away from an open Julio Jones. Again, Ryan Tannehill, a beat late with the football. It's honestly, to watch that back, and I did several times, to watch that back, you can feel it because they lose the toss. They get the ball first on offense because the Bengals defer. This offense, in its entirety, all projected 11 starters from the preseason. Unthinkable. Derrick Henry in the backfield. A play-action 2 tight end set with Ferkser and Swaim on the line of scrimmage to the quarterback's left and Julio Jones and A.J. Brown to the right. You could feel the energy in Nissan Stadium. They were about to open this thing up. This was the offense that was promised. There it was. Play action pass concept. Tannehill a beat late. Targeting Julio Jones. Interception. What the hell? I went back and watched that play and thought, how? The Bengals safety, Jesse Bates, who made that play, told reporters yesterday that Tannehill stared Julio Jones down the whole way. But then I listened to Blaine Bishop talk about this first play. And what I saw when I watched back on film is exactly what Blaine articulated on Titans Talkback Saturday night.
Didn't like any of the route combination. It was elementary to me. It was very elementary. I call it twin flop. 2 tight ends on one side, 2 receivers on the other side. They're playing man-free cover 3. If you know what cover 3 is, it's 3 deep, the guy in the deep middle. He had no threat on the field. None. Nobody came across and ran a post. There were no 4 verticals. Nothing held him in the field. He jumped a curl route or a dig route or whatever you want. That was a bad play. I like the play action call, but bad play. Bad play. The whole concept of that play was not very good. That's coaching. Sorry. Bad play right off the bat. The concept. He had no threats. Yeah, I would have jumped in. I might have got a PBU, pass breakup on that play. So I didn't like that. The play calling all season to me is choppy. And when I say choppy, it means that it has no flow or rhythm. It's almost like it's 2 people calling plays. Like they're not stacked, as Coach Mack would always say, layered. So I've been waiting all season because I kept on saying, man, it just doesn't make sense. I don't like the play calling. Well, this is what I don't like about it. Some of the things, it doesn't make any sense to me. It feels like it's 2 different people calling plays. At the end of the day, Tannehill has to protect the football.
And it comes down to that final part, right? Ryan Tannehill's got to protect the football. He has to be smarter than that. By the way, we had just seen him do that. It's been over a month. Before Saturday, it had been over a month before Ryan Tannehill, or since Ryan Tannehill had thrown an interception. It had been over a month since they went to Pittsburgh and literally threw away a layup game. And then they come out with that again. And again, Tannehill, after rattling off 3 straight wins to get the number 1 overall seed and to put them in this position, Ryan Tannehill has to take better care of the football. But when I listen to Blaine Bishop talk about that, and when I see the analysis on social media from Matt Bowen, who's one of the smartest football minds out there, who does not have opinions because he bases his analysis off the film. The film does not have an opinion. The film is the film. When it's pointed out to Matt Bowen that the problem, just as Blaine Bishop said on that route concept, on that play action pass design, is that there's no route on the backside for the safety who jumped the play to have to think about. I cannot read Matt Bowen on Sunday after they scored 16 damn points. 16! With Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry, and a very, very effective Deontay Foreman. 16! I just knocked the phone off the hook. I cannot read Matt Bowen's analysis the next day and say that he agrees that there is no route on the backside for the safety to think about. Bates gets his eyes to the front side because of the lack of execution on that play, and it brings us to another discussion on the Titans' pass game structure, Bowen writes, which can be viewed as limited by play design. Limited by play design. That offense with that talent, that cannot be. It just can't. Uncle Bob in Columbia is next on 104.5 The Zone. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for taking the call, a little raspy. Well, it's awful. It's awful. My heart goes out to all the Titan fans. Unfortunately, my blood runs 98% orange, okay? But I invested more emotion and attention in the Titans this season than I've ever had an NFL team.
Yes.
So it's just awful. And so my heart goes out to them. I had a 2-point, one interception. I don't know who that number 15 is. It hit him right in the hands. He pops it up like a high school drill. That was one interception. But my question, I'll let you know, is when we had an interception, and I thought that ball touched the ground. It was a great break for the Titans. I don't think they capitalized on that. But anyway, that was my question, that one play. Did that ball touch the ground or not? You know what I'm talking about. I'll let you go, and thanks for what you do.
Thanks very much for the call, Bob. Yeah, a lot of people feel that way, right? This is as invested as I've felt this city since I've been here. I mean, admittedly, it's been, almost 7 years since I moved here. It's as invested as I've seen people in Tennessee Titans football, especially from a transplant standpoint where you're the hot thing to do in town. People are dying to get tickets to your games. Dying to go. People who have other football teams who aren't playing right now because their asses are sitting at home on the couch rage tweeting like Colts fans were doing at the end of the season. And now who's laughing at whom? Oof. Yeah, the interception that Bob brings up, the Amani Hooker pick. You got the turnover, right? You got the thing that you needed to give life back to that stadium. The Amani Hooker interception. And by rule, because what I heard, and when I watched this back on the TV copy, I heard Gene Steratore say that he thought they would overturn it in real time. Whereas we were sitting in the press box with the rule book in front of us saying that if the player has possession of the ball and it's not being helped by the ground, then it is by rule an interception. I had several texts and tweets that Steratore had called that an overturnable play in the booth. Lucas, you're saying no?
No, that's how what you just said is basically how Mike Keith articulated it on Titans radio. He did a really good job that if you listen to him and Coach Mack, as a Titans fan, you're just listening to the radio broadcast, you were pretty confident it was going to stay.
Right.
Because of what you just said.
Well, based on the television broadcast, it did not seem like that was the majority opinion. It seems like Gene Steratore sounds like he botched it, or did botch it. I watched it back. But yeah, by rule, an interception. It can't happen that way. Jim is in Nashville up next on 104.5 The Zone. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Buck. I appreciate you taking my call this morning. I was at the game on Saturday and have attended, all the games this season, and just with all the excitement, the atmosphere, and then for the air to go out of the stadium after the first play from scrimmage was extremely disheartening and set the tone for the day. But my question is, what the game looked like to me in the last 2.5 minutes when the Titans had the ball was that the Titans were playing for overtime and not trying to be aggressive and win the game. If you watch the game between the Chiefs and the Bills yesterday, and 25 points in two minutes, and they just were not aggressive at all, which you got to play to win, not play not to lose. And it just looked like to me that the defense, because the defense was playing so well, that they were thinking perhaps if we go into overtime, we'll be able to hold them to a field goal and we'll score a touchdown. But anyway, just interested in your thoughts, and I'll take your comments off the air.
Hey, thanks for the call, Jim. I mean, even the Rams-Bucks game, right, where you've got Chris Collinsworth all but screaming in the booth, they have to play offense here. After they get the fumble recovery that Sue is able to bring in, it looks like Tom Brady's going to get another crack at this thing. They score a touchdown, and Chris Collinsworth immediately says, keep throwing the football. Play offense. Play offense. Do not get complacent. Now, what I'll say about the Titans is this. I felt like they were trying to play for the game-winning field goal. But the way that they did it, man, I didn't understand how much time they let come off the clock with 2 minutes left before that interception on third down. Vrabel, and let's listen to Mike Vrabel talk about that situation coming up next, because that was perplexing to me. You'll hear from Mike Vrabel on that. You'll hear from Ryan Tannehill on his interceptions. You'll hear from Jeffrey Simmons, who was an unbelievable monster in the middle of that defense, trying to keep them in that game, and how shocked he felt that the result turned out that way. That's coming up next. Your phone calls as well. I'm Buck Reising. This is 104.5 The Zone. Four teams remain in the NFL playoffs, and that means only 4 teams left for you to bet on at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 56, new customers can get 56-1 odds on any team. Bet just $5 and get $280 in free bets if your team pulls off a win. If you're not a new customer, you can experience the conference championships with same-game parlays, which, of course, allows you to combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money that you can win. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever it is that you want. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code WGFX. Get 56-1 odds on any NFL team. You bet just $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code WGFX for 56-1 odds at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee to bet. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. Ooh. Ryan Tannehill, the first of 3 interceptions. Mike Keith on the call, Titans radio. Titans go down to the Bengals 19-16 as the number 1 overall seed. Can't have it. Turnover differential. It's the name of the game, kids, particularly for your football team this year. Tough scene. What I will say to you about that is this, and this was Ryan Tannehill speaking about the first of those 3 interceptions. What I will say to you is Ryan Tannehill made a poor decision, but Ryan Tannehill was not put in a position to make a better one based on the design of that play-action route concept that lacked an option, a route on the backside to keep the safety from creeping up and making that interception. Mike Vrabel's going to meet with the media, by the way. In just about 10 minutes from now, we're going to carry that live for you. 615-737-1045 is the number. I need a lot. I sent Teresa Walker. Obviously, I'm going to be doing the radio show here with you, so I'm not going to be at Vrabel's press conference at St. Thomas Sports Park, but I sent Teresa Walker a bunch of questions that we need to have answered today. David in Nashville is up next on Ryan Tannehill. Hello, David.
Hey, Buck. Anybody that has any hope or wanting to change quarterbacks next year, you just need to read Buck's column in A to Z Sports. Have it explained to you very well.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, David.
I wanted to change that afternoon and want Russell Wilson, and I want what I want and all that. But, I read your article, and we got him next year. There's just no way around it.
Yeah.
No, there's just no way around it. So if you're thinking that way, read Buck's article, and it'll be explained to you in a very simple fashion that anybody can understand.
I appreciate the call, David. And here's what I'll say. You can still draft a quarterback and keep Ryan Tannehill on your roster. I know it's not a great quarterback draft, but you're picking 26th overall as we sit here today. I don't know that any of these quarterbacks are worth trading up for, but if you think you've got enough to go up and get your guy in a draft where the quarterback crop is relatively weak, I mean, not relatively, it is weak. Recall, and I saw Mike Miracles of Broadway Sports point this out, 2017, the year that Watson and Mahomes, Trubisky were all drafted, was a weak quarterback class as well. I'm not saying that Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes is Kenny Pickett or Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is where you're picking in the first round, you can draft a quarterback and you can deal with Ryan Tannehill's salary on your schedule. If you think you've got one that can push him, because that's fine. Competition is good. Ryan Tannehill has been a good quarterback for this team. Ryan Tannehill probably has good football left in him. Ryan Tannehill, the more I watch that game back, wasn't the largest issue to me. We'll talk more about Todd Downing at noon, right before Harry Douglas joins us. This was Ryan Tannehill talking about the first interception, the one he threw on the first play, non-special teams, right into the lap of Jesse Bates.
No, safety made a heck of a play. We were got Julio switch release there, going vertical, a lot of space in there. He squatted on it, and didn't feel like there was a threat right there to go over the top, so he squatted on it and drove on it. Usually the safety's not in that position against that coverage against that play, but have to tip your hat to him. He made a heck of a play.
Usually the safety's not in that spot. The coverage isn't like that on that particular play. Ryan Tannehill saying, the safety didn't feel like there was a threat behind him, so he could keep his eyes front side and not potentially on a crossing pattern that did not exist. Because as Blaine Bishop told you, the play design on that first interception, limited. If you're on the phone lines, I know they're loaded, 615-737-1045. We'll get to those here in just a second. Mike Vrabel is going to meet with the media coming up next. It's locker room cleanout day for the Tennessee Titans as the former, they still are the number 1 overall seed, but now Kansas City gets to host the AFC Championship game. Mike Vrabel is next.
It is 11 a.m. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans season concluded on Saturday, going one and done in the postseason for the second straight year, falling 19-16 to the Cincinnati Bengals in Nissan Stadium in the divisional round. Despite the Titans sacking Joe Burrow 9 times, that ties the playoff record. 3 interceptions from Ryan Tannehill, too much to overcome. The Bengals will move on and face Kansas City on the road in the AFC Championship game as the Titans go through locker room cleanout day as we speak. Head coach Mike Vrabel is at the podium speaking to media. We'll go to that here in just a few moments on the Buck Reising Show. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Titans head coach, he's at the podium right now giving his end-of-season press conference. It's locker room clean-out day at St. Thomas Sports Park, so we go now there live.
Mike, thank you. With this loss, how do you go about deconstructing it to see what has to be done to take this team to the next step?
Well, we've won a lot of games. We won 34 games or whatever we've won in 3 years. But we haven't won a playoff game in 2 years, and that's when you have to be at your best. And I think in Saturday night there were glimpses of it. Just not consistent enough in all 3 phases. So we will work and to improve to make sure that when you do play playoff games, you're at your best and doing everything that we have to do to take care of the football, to tackle, to cover, to be able to convert on third down and continue to affect their quarterback and all those things that you saw that were there at times, just not consistent enough.
Ryan and Derek in these 2 playoff losses in 2 years haven't played to the level that they played in the regular season. You consider that the 2-game aberration, ill-timed, or a problem? Well, probably. We've always said that your best players have to play good in this league for you to win, and then that goes without saying. I've always felt that way, as a player, and especially as a coach. So when you're talking about skill players, especially guys that are responsible for the football, they need everybody. They need everybody around them, to succeed. So I think that's a byproduct of everybody. But your best players have to play good in order for you to win.
That's the season that Todd Downing had for you guys as offensive play caller?
I think Todd does a great job. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a hard worker, and there's always going to be calls you'd like to have back. There's plays you'd like to have back, but I don't evaluate things. I try to see how guys communicate with each other, the players. Are we all on the same page? Is there, good communication? How do we do on third down? How do we do in the red zone? And things have to be better in all 3 phases each and every year. But I love the relationship that Todd has with the assistant coaches and the players, and we'll all continue to improve.
What about in terms of the relationship with Ryan? Do you think that Ryan has suffered at all losing Arthur and going to Todd this year?
Arthur coaches for the Falcons.
Right, I'm talking about the transition from Arthur to Todd, though. Do you feel like there's any diminishing effect at all?
No.
As far as your involvement in the offensive part of the team, that phase, did you have the same level as you've had in the past?
I'm the head coach, Teron. I've got operations and got an ability to go into every meeting and talk, and I enjoy those. Enjoy it a lot. So, I wouldn't say that that's any more or any less. Is it? Is that something that you?
That's what I was curious.
No, that's a part of the game. I think I enjoy. I enjoy being able to again try to have input, but also allow
coaches to coach, and if there's something that I think that we should do or I want changed, then we change it. But I'm also not, an expert at every single scheme or, run game. I know what I'd like to do, or say, hey, can we put this in, and then we work to put it in, or, I try to give ideas, but and I enjoy that. I just had to be conscious of how many ideas I give, because they have to take it to the players and then make sure that it's installed. And again, we've been through the process of what has to happen when you put a bunch of new plays in. You have to be able to block it or be able to have to line up and play it on defense.
What's your final message, Mike, to the team, and how difficult it is? Because
Well, I'm obviously proud, Jim, and I take this this opportunity to coach in this league and especially coach this team very seriously. It's an honor, but I am proud because you come to work and you get to coach men that care, that are tough, that play extremely hard, that believe in our culture of effort and toughness, about putting the team first and about winning. And so I'm disappointed, but I'm not discouraged because I know the type of the people that we have here.
How close is this team to winning a Super Bowl?
Right now, not very close.
In a lot of Ryan's interceptions, they seem to come in bunches. Is there anything you can pinpoint as to why that might have happened?
No, I don't know if it's a trend. I just think that, we understand how great you have to be with the football, whether you're carrying it or throwing it, taking care of it is paramount. And when you lose the turnover margin in the way that we did at different points along the season, it is really, really hard to win. And that's something that we're going to have to evaluate how we are coaching, and just making sure that everybody that has the football knows how important it is to the success of the team.
Disappointment is there with every playoff loss, but talking to some of the guys Saturday, it seemed like they were almost surprised by this one because they all said there was such a focus and intensity last week, and they thought they did everything right to play well. Do you feel the same way, and does that make a loss at this time of year a little bit more head-scratching than maybe last year or the AFC title game 2 years ago?
I think we're going to win every game that we play. That's my approach. So, I guess that they felt that way. I didn't feel like I thought we always had good preparation, good focus. And again, we kept the game and played the game in a manner in which I thought that we needed to keep it close, and we come back obviously, and kind of felt like our type of game where really thought we would get a conversion, call timeout, have 23 seconds and one timeout, to execute those situations that we've executed all year and kick a field goal to win. And it didn't happen.
The offensive numbers were obviously down, as you've talked about. How much do you factor injuries into that whole situation when you evaluate it? How important was that? And I guess how important was just
it's a large part of it. The pass rush looks a little better when Simmons and Autry and Landry and Butter out there. So, as opposed to me, you, Jimmy, and Teresa. So we'll factor in the who's out there. The X's and O's are great. The Jimmys and the Joes are a little better.
I guess, yeah. Offensively, is that what you're talking about?
You're going to factor in who's available, who's out there, what the run, what the run game looked like based on how we were blocking, or was it a great cut? Did we not block three guys and somebody make somebody miss, or was it just a really well executed play by everybody having the guy blocked, and the one guy we can't block is the post safety, and he made the play 15 yards down the field, or did the protection break down and a guy that we were counted for just beat us. But then injuries are going to be part of who's out there doing the work as well.
Scored 17 points on opening drives all season. How much is scripting, better starts, maybe an off-season concern or project?
I think that the scripting is as important as the execution.
Here's, Mike, you Not right now, not very close to Teresa's question, but you won 12 games.
Well, we're out of the tournament, so
Right.
the Super Bowl will be next year, and then I'll figure that out when we get there. But right now, we're a long way away because we have no chance to win the Super Bowl.
Projecting forward, I mean, do you like kind of what you have built and feel like you've
I think that we've got some guys that I love coming to work, and I would be disappointed if they weren't with us next year. And I love what they're about. I love how they prepare, how they compete. And I think that what these guys believe in is they believe in the team. They believe in playing a certain brand of football about effort and playing physical and playing together.
Priorities in particular, Mike, as you look ahead, I know it's only been 2 days, but priorities that you say, I'd really like to improve this area looking forward?
I think we're probably a little bit too soon for that. I think we're just trying to work through some of the sting of the loss and, get these guys in here today, get them checked out, meet with them. And, then John and I will have, discussions and things as we enter into, free agencies and players that have contracts that are expiring. What the players' plan are to go and try to improve in the offseason.
Do you expect the coaching staff to come back mostly intact for next year?
We'll have meetings on that throughout the week, and that's some other things I'll have to put into consideration.
Considering the production you've gotten from incoming offensive linemen, will you and John kind of reconsider the process for choosing in the draft and free agency?
I think we're always trying to consider or reconsider or evaluate how we acquire players, whether it's through free agency, whether it's through the draft, and then what we're doing, to develop them. It's a whole process.
What do you think Dylan's future is next year? Where do you want him to be focusing on?
Just improve and continue to do what he did this year and continue to get stronger at this level, continue to work on speed off the football, pad level, everything we'd ask anybody else to work on.
Tackle.
Offensive lineman.
As far as the quarterback situation is concerned, what is it about Ryan Tannehill that you feel should make him the quarterback next year and in years beyond?
Got elite toughness. We have to be great around him, but he's shown signs of accuracy, of decision making, to the ability to extend plays and to scramble, and leadership. So those are all things that you look for in a quarterback, and Ryan showed us that. Unfortunately, we turned the ball over on Saturday.
You overcome so much adversity during the season with the record number of players, and then enter Saturday probably at your healthiest and your best. And yet Saturday happened. And how do you explain just the difference in being able to overcome that adversity and then with things never easy, but easier, I guess?
We turned the ball over 3 times or whatever we did, and didn't get, got 1 turnover on defense, gave up big plays, didn't cover kicks very well, had a penalty on special teams. That's kind of how you would explain it, right, Emily? It's like all the things that we talk about, whether you got injuries or not, those are things that get you beat.
Is there a mindset or a mentality that goes along with that too, or is it just plain and simple execution of your
A mindset, like the mind. Every time you try to go out on the football field, you're trying to do it with at least most of the guys, I think, I hope, are trying to do it with a physicality and a demeanor and an effort. I've never seen a mindset that wasn't what I felt like it should be. It's the great thing is when you decide to do this, you have to be willing to understand that when you can do your best and you can work hard and compete, and sometimes you lose. And we made mistakes that forced us to ultimately end this season. But we're not gonna second guess. We have to evaluate and make sure that we learn from those mistakes and and that's why I love doing what I do.
Do the film, Mike?
Has special teams shown you any kind of consistent progress, week to week increase?
Yeah, I mean, there's times where we had plenty of tackles inside the 20. Had a big return against Pittsburgh. I could go back and, we made a bunch of kicks, missed one or whatever we missed, at the end of the Jets game. And, we kicked the ball well. It just, I'm not sure, we've had plenty of good special teams plays. And, Danico tipped a field goal or whatever he's done. We just have to, be better in a lot of phases.
Mike,
Shot we were doing as far as trending to be involved in your off-season program?
There's rehabbing. I mean, I have to get an update from Todd on how it is today, but I see him in there every day, and they're working hard. And we'll see whenever the off-season program starts. But those were guys that were working in training camp, start the season, and had injuries, and hopefully they can take a big step with the rest of these young guys when they're healthy.
Mike, while you remain confident in Ryan as your starter, kind of the team's leader moving forward, would you like to see maybe the quarterback depth be bolstered, maybe someone kind of behind him that can push him? Or
I think we're trying to add the best depth at every position that we possibly can.
As you looked at the film of the 3 picks, did you have any different take on them than you did right after the game? Did you see anything different than when you were talking to us after?
No, I mean, I think it's, we got to do a better job of taking care of the football. They made a couple plays, and, again, we know that when we go out there and throw the football, we got to be precise. The receivers have to help us. Quarterbacks got to help us, and that's what it is.
A lot of success with sort of a different offensive strategy than a lot of teams, more run-based. I mean, with the personnel that's returning, do you envision sticking with that theme for the most part? Or
we'll do whatever we think gives us the best chance to win right now. Right now we're not there. I mean, we haven't. We'll go back and evaluate every run and look at its efficiency. We'll look at every pass. We'll look at every screen, every bootleg. Same thing on defense.
Were things at the right depth? The first pick, the first play. Were things at the right depth, and shouldn't there be some kind of receiving option that pulls Bates towards the middle? It didn't seem like there was anything tempting him.
Yeah, we were trying to max protect, and, again, Bates came over and made a really nice play.
You expect him there to obviously get himself in a position to pick up where he left off when he comes back in camp, and just find out anything more on Foreman from what you've seen what you saw from him this year?
I'm sure Derek will work extremely hard to get himself ready like he does every offseason. Deontay, has an expiring contract, and we'll see, how that fits in with what we're going to do going forward. Those are conversations that John and I'll have, but he was fun to coach. He was did a nice job for us, and certainly made the best of his opportunity.
Your evaluation, and you look at an NFL record number of players used due to injury, do you look at that and say that's just an anomaly of a weird year, or is that some level of concern as you evaluate what you want to do moving forward?
Concern for what?
Just how you do
playing pro football, playing pro football and having guys get hurt? Sure, then. I mean, I don't know who do you want me to fire based we had 91 guys? I'm just curious.
I'm not asking you to fire anyone.
Okay, because that's always the rhetoric. Listen, we feel like sometimes the rules may force you into a little bit of, using the 3-week IR, where maybe in the past you wouldn't have put a guy on 3-week IR. So sometimes I think those get skewed with COVID, and we had injuries, and we used 91 guys, like you said. But, I just didn't see anything, at least right now, and we'll identify, whether training camp is too long. We try to build in recovery days or regen days, and, when guys come back in May, we don't have them year-round. There's no mat drills next Tuesday. We didn't lose our bowl game, and then there's mat drills at 6 o'clock in the morning. Some of these guys may come back in June, So our job is to evaluate what their conditioning level is, making sure that when they go out there, They can protect themselves and they can finish a practice and making sure that we're doing everything we can based on the guy's age and how many snaps he played and a lot of things. But it is a long season. It's a long season with where training camp is and that break between the last game and the first regular season game that we were conscious of, and the bye week being late. So we had a lot of walkthrough practices, and we're gonna look at all that stuff. But I just don't know what the magic recipe is to avoid some of the injuries or guys getting COVID.
Talked about guys.
Mike Vrabel's going to continue to talk to the media. Who do you want me to fire? He says.
What if he just responded, well, for starters?
Todd Downing.
He just started naming names.
I mean, oh, man. I feel like there's not a lot of people who listen to that press conference who feel satisfied with how their head coach is receiving things versus how they are. But here's what I'll say, and we'll talk about it coming up next because there's a few open phone lines. Not many. 615-737-1045. That's the number. We're going to take your phone calls on what Mike Vrabel had to say coming up next. And I'll tell you how I feel about what he had to say about Todd Downing because at this point, it's got some 2020 vibes. That's next. I'm Buck Reising. It's 1045 The Zone. People want us to be angry, Lucas. I got people in the YouTube chat after Mike Vrabel's press conference. By the way, he's still speaking, but I think you get the gist. He's asked about Todd Downing, and in fact, he's just wrapped up. And he gave you basically the same answer as he did when he was asked about Shane Bowen's job potentially being in jeopardy after last season with that terrible Titans defense. Titans offense not as bad as that Titans defense was, but Mike Vrabel said, yeah, he thinks Todd Downing's a great coach. And he thinks Todd Downing does a good job communicating with the players. And he explained the interceptions, some of the misguided play designs that may have led to some of those turnovers yesterday, as you know, in the first one being max protection with there no route concept on the backside to draw the safety's attention. He explained it quite at length, and people are angry that we're not angry. Now, I get why you're angry. You're supposed to be. You should be. But like Eddie Gray says, are you guys going to are we going to let, Lucas? Are y'all going to let this fly? About the idea that, you know, we're worried about losing our access or people aren't asking Mike Vrabel tough enough questions. But I think that's just a fundamental misunderstanding of what our job is. My job is not to ask angry questions. My job is to ask him questions that you're angry about, and his responses are his responses. Now, can he be pushed? Yeah, he was pushed a little bit about Todd Downing and how much different Ryan Tannehill looks from Arthur Smith to Todd Downing. And you know what his response was? Arthur Smith coaches for the Falcons. On the 91 players for injuries, Mike Vrabel wants to know, who do you want him to fire? Now, it would have been funny if Steve Lehman came back with a list of people that he wanted Mike Vrabel to fire, but, you know, that's just not the case. New York media, Philadelphia media is sometimes the comparison, I guess, because, you know, there's a lot more angry people in New York and Philadelphia. Questions asked, questions answered. We move on, and we react to it as such. But the biggest takeaway is that was an endorsement of Todd Downing. And I asked you guys the question on social media, do you believe Todd Downing this season to be 2020 Shane Bowen, where Mike Vrabel continues to be loyal to him and, you know, second chances are given. In the case of Shane Bowen, it paid dividends. The Todd Downing situation, from my standpoint, feels much, much different. 615-737-1045. Back to the phone lines. They are loaded. We got Dave in Portland, Tennessee, who wants to weigh in. What's up, Dave?
Hey, what's going on, Buck?
What you got for me?
Hey, I don't want to seem like I'm bashing players or bashing the coaches or anything like that.
You can do what you want today, Dave. It's your call.
Yes, sir. All my teams are underdog teams, so I appreciate a loyal fan base. But we have to tell the truth and be honest, right?
Sure.
The last couple weeks, all I've heard from you guys and professionals on ESPN and whatnot, playoff football is different football.
Yes.
It's not like the regular season. It's championship football. It's elite football. It's the best of the best. The Titans' offensive game plan and the play calling and the play design is not elite. Not even close to championship football. They need to reboot the offense, bring in a new OC, and reconstruct the offense completely different. If you look at Cincy, if you look at Buffalo, if you look at KC, you look at these teams, RPO, spread, explosive offense, being able to move the ball down the field. The Titans do none of that offensively. It's play action. It's running the ball. You know, halfback dive. How many times they run halfback dive?
Hey, Dave, but the run game was working. Did you see the pass Ryan Tannehill fit in there to A.J. Brown? Cincinnati was not that much better than the Titans were on offense. You got the plays you needed to win the game. The difference was the 3 turnovers. The play calling in that situation is what stands out to me. They had 45-yard runs. They had a 40-yard bomb. They had a couple of 40-yard deep passing plays to A.J. Brown. I think we're talking about something fundamentally different here.
Yeah, but, Burrow was able to make those throws, though.
Tannehill made him, too. He just threw 3 picks. Dave, I think...
Yeah, he threw it to the wrong team.
Sure, but are we not talking about them making enough plays offensively and the play calling situation in the red zone where Ryan Tannehill leads the league with 4 interceptions right now? Is that not the only difference? Because your point, you move the goalposts on me, Dave, and you're allowed to be honest if that's your honest opinion, and I'm honestly telling you that your opinion is flawed. You can't move the goalpost on me and say, we need more of these explosive plays, when, by the way, you had explosive plays. I got my handy-dandy play call. I know this is an audio medium, but we're on video too, so you can hear me rustling my papers, my handy-dandy stat book that Titans PR provides to us after the game. Let me give you the longest plays for the Tennessee Titans. You've got Deontay Foreman with the longest play of the game to set up 1st and goal from the 9-yard line with a 45-yard run after 3 good Derrick Henry runs to set that up. 45 yards to Deontay Foreman down the field. What happens on 1st and goal from the 9, Dave? You throw a pick. Because instead of taking the open running lane to Deontay Foreman, there's a blitz coming. Ryan Tannehill correctly diagnoses it. In fact, can we hear from Ryan Tannehill, Lucas, on the 2nd interception? Because I'll let Tannehill diagnose this for himself. Ryan Tannehill's playing by his game rules. The questionable part of that was the play call. I've got 45 yards to Deontay Foreman. I got 41 yards to A.J. Brown. I got a 40-yard pass to A.J. Brown. I got a 33-yard pass to A.J. Brown. I got a 20-yard pass to A.J. Brown. That's 5 explosive plays, 20-plus yards or more down the field. One of them for a touchdown. What are you talking about, this lack of explosive plays? You want to know how many plays Cincinnati had over 20 yards? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a situation where I think that you have misdiagnosed the problem. The problem, as Mike Vrabel outlined it. Again, I wrote this at AtoZSports.com. Mike Vrabel said it as cleanly, as concisely as you could say it in the post-game press conference with us on Saturday night. Quote, our 3rd down conversion wasn't good enough. Our ability to score touchdowns in the red zone was not good enough, but we all have to play better. We have to coach better. You've heard that a million times. Guess what? 1 of 8 on 3rd down, 12%. That is abysmal. In the red zone, Ryan Tannehill, interception. Can't happen. On the first play of the football game, because you're trying to max protect, there's no route to pull the safety back, interception. In the final seconds, just about 30 to be exact, you come out with a 3rd and 5 passing play where there is Anthony Ferkser open underneath, but he's well short of the sticks, well short of the line to gain, and 3 deep passing concepts that Ryan Tannehill has to force a ball into to Nick Westbrook-Akina, who, by the way, as Bob pointed out earlier with one of his phone calls, hit it off, bounced off his hands, went up in the air, tip drill interception. Situational play calling and execution by the quarterback. Not good enough. But you cannot tell me their performance in the red zone and the fact that they were 1 of 8 on 3rd down, that ultimately comes down to a player not being put in a good enough position to succeed. That's not questionable at this point. Matt is in Antioch up next on 104.5 The Zone. What's up, Matt?
Hey, how you doing? Well, I'm glad Dave had a call before me. I think it's a combination of everything. And you're not going to like this. I know Titans fans are not going to like this, but the Tennessee Titans were in a particular position when they got Tannehill and Vrabel.
Yep.
Now the problem is these two have moved the organization forward.
Yep.
There is sometimes that these two people cannot move their franchise further. Case in point, the Los Angeles Lakers in 1998, what did they do? They go and get Phil Jackson, and they win 3 in a row. So my point is, maybe it's time to look at, and then two, is it feasible? Who is better than the coach, and who can they get for quarterback? But what I'm saying is, you've had 2. It doesn't matter what you do in the regular season.
Correct.
When you get to the playoffs, you have to win. And if your teams cannot beat the ones who are in the playoffs, then how good are you? So my point is, continue to get better, stop with all these expectations. They have, instead of changing the OC, they need to change the routes. Look at what Kansas City's doing to get down the field. Look what Buffalo is doing to get down the field. Look what the Rams are doing to get down the field. And just one more point. When you said you had 6 offensive plays and that's good enough, no, sir. That's not good enough because KC had 30 of them, it seems like.
Okay, well, how many did they – wait a minute, Matt. You can't just throw out numbers. You cannot tell me because that game went to overtime. So you're talking about additional time for both of those teams to make plays down the field. You can't tell me – you can't toss out a number without bringing me actual numbers. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's a fair way to do the analysis.
Okay. Let me tell you this much. Instead of the 30, let's say how all year long KC got down the field. All year long, the Rams got down the field, and they moved it in chunks. Buffalo moved it in chunks. Green Bay somewhat moved it in chunks. But Tennessee doesn't. They have Derrick Henry that they'll ride. I got it. But sometimes you got to have an offense to move this ball because sometimes you're going to play harder competition to stop the run. And if you don't have the particular routes to do that, you're gonna have this situation.
Hey Matt, hang with me for a second because I've got their stat report up from KC and Buffalo. Kansas City did have 10, but Buffalo, you had more explosive plays than the Buffalo Bills. They had 1, 2, 3, 4 to your 6 on Saturday. You're talking about lack of explosive plays during the season, but you just told me that the regular season doesn't matter. I'm willing to agree with you in that respect, but we've just spent all season talking about the fact that they don't have the personnel to get down the field, but now we're doing the analysis in retrospect. I think that is deep, deep recency bias, no?
Well, I would tell you this much. You got Antonio Brown and you got Julio Jones.
You got A.J. Brown. You don't want Antonio.
A.J. Brown. I'm sorry.
You don't want
I'm
Antonio.
Sorry. But these guys are beasts on the outside. But with the routes that they run, they're not being used effectively. You would have more.
Thanks for the call, Matt. I appreciate that. We've got a lot more people on the phone line. Sorry to cut you off, Matt, but 615-737-1045. I think people are moving the goalposts. I really do. Now, I don't disagree with them that the route concepts are flawed. I don't disagree with that at all. And in fact, that's my whole point. We're going to go through this in 20 minutes with Harry Douglas of ESPN, former Titans wide receiver. He was in town all weekend. Me and Harry were texting about this back and forth vigorously. And the discussion at 12:20 when Harry joins us will be lively. We'll dive into Todd Downing there in more detail. Let's get one more phone call. We've got plenty of phone calls to get to, but I want to get one more before we have to take a quick break here. Let's go to Kyle in Savannah up next. What's up, Kyle?
Oh, hey, how's it going? Buck, I love you guys. All right, I'll try to make it as quick as I can. Point, and then I have a question to answer. So point, I brought it up with J. Martin and Ramon about how the split for blame should go 50 to OC, 40 to Tannehill, and then 10 to Vrabel. The 10 I give 5% for the first half and not kick an extra point, and then the 5% that at the end of the game he didn't call a timeout, which he had 2 in his pocket.
Yeah, the timeout thing was weird. We'll agree to disagree on the 2-point conversion. I think, given the penalty, they could have gone for it.
Yeah, that's fine. And then basically also fans are crazy that they want to mortgage their future like the Rams did, yet the Rams haven't won a Super Bowl yet with Matt Stafford. But anyway, that was something I just add. But my question is, who do you feel worse for? What player do you feel worse for in this game? And my answer is Deontay Foreman. Oh, my God. I feel so bad for that dude. And the fact is, like, if he's coming back next year, I would basically stipulate, like, if I was him, I'd be like, if Todd Downing is still here, I do not want to be here. Because Todd Downing, oh, my God. Like, throw him in the trash already. They should be announcing that at 3 o'clock where they do injuries. Announce that Todd Downing's gone. Please, just get him off. Get him out of here, please.
Thanks for the call, Kyle. He's pleading with us even. Yeah, that's not happening. Mike Vrabel said he's a great coach, so he's your OC. We'll talk. I'll tell you, he asked me who I feel worse for. After that game, you're going to hear from the player that I feel the worst for after yesterday's game. That's coming up next. Harry Douglas is going to join us at 12:20. Phone lines are locked and loaded if you want to get them in, 615-737-1045. We got a lot more reacting to do on this Monday. I'm Buck Reising. It's 1045 The Zone.
Burrow with Evans in the backfield. Takes the snap. Pressure coming up the middle. Sack! They get him again!
Welcome back. It's Mike Keith, losing his mind. 9 times he did that. Probably a few more, again, as we said.
11 times.
11 times, but a couple of those were wiped off by some late whistles by the officials. I was asked in the last break, welcome back, Buck Reising here with you until 1, which Titans player I felt worse for after that loss. I felt worse for that entire defense. And by the way, Bud Dupree, Kevin Byard, they're meeting with the media right now on locker room cleanout day. Byard said he would restructure his contract to get Harold Landry back. Bud Dupree is saying he absolutely advocates for Harold Landry to return. All that is well and good. Recall, because Roger Saffold said the same kind of a thing last season, but in order for them to restructure, they have to be asked to do that. John Robinson has to make the conscious decision to ask them to do that. And you'll remember that the Tannehill Julio Jones thing was so unique because John doesn't like doing that. Now, maybe this season has changed his philosophy. I don't know, but just because those words are out there doesn't mean that's Kevin Byard saying, I'm going to restructure my contract. He's saying, yeah, I'd do it if I was approached. Somebody has to approach him. You know who I feel worse for than anybody on Saturday, though, for the way that was blown? And I love you guys, but it's not you. It's Jeffrey Simmons. Listen to Jeffrey Simmons talk about how shocked he was to have to get up there in front of us on Saturday night and talk about them blowing that game.
Man, our goal was to go to the Super Bowl and win. Of course, we short of our goal. Like I said, in order for to continue to play in February, we're supposed to have been taking care of this game. So happened we didn't. So like I said, that just props to them. Get all the props to them. Like I said, they made more plays than us. I tell you what, though, we're gonna let this build. We're gonna build off this, and I hate this feeling. So whatever I could do as a leader, as a captain on this team, to get the guys, going more and coming in for this next season, I'm trying not to have this feeling again. So
try not to have that feeling again, but they're going to have to wait until next year. That's Jeffrey Simmons talking about the way that game was lost, despite him being just an unholy terror for 60 minutes of football. Let's finish strong. We've got plenty more calls to get to. Lines are loaded, but I want to get this segment off with a good one. I want Lebowski because I know he's going to deliver. How you feeling, big man?
Let me tell you something. This is the most pissed off and disappointed I've been in 22 years watching this team. A lot of people say the opposite of love is hate, and it's not. The opposite of love is apathy. When you stop giving a damn to what your former lover, ex, or football team is doing, that's when things are not going well, and that's exactly how I feel. It ruined my football weekend. I absolutely could care less who played games after that. And here's why I'm so irritated. To quote Jonathan Bourne with us at Broadway, Titans had all projected starters coming in, plus Zach Cunningham. You're at home. Henry is fresh. You're coming off a bye. And let me say that's 2 bye weeks in the final 6 weeks of play. And that's the offensive performance. That's the interceptions that Tannehill decides to throw up. And to me, it's more sickening because you've got A.J. Brown at full speed. Julio seems to be in a rhythm and healthy. The defense playing out of their minds, and this Titans offense just wasted a legit Super Bowl caliber defense. I would have been okay with losing in the AFC Championship round to a team like Kansas City, but Cincinnati barely played enough offense to beat the Titans, and the Titans only beat themselves. And unfortunately, now what? What do you do? First off, for fans that are talking about we've got to replace the quarterback now, for who? And what? And with what money? With what picks? What are teams going to ask for to replace them? You need to align yourself with the fact that this team is going to run it back with both Todd Downing and Ryan Tannehill. It's not going to be out of incompetence, at least on the quarterback side. It's going to be straight up for funding, lack of talent out there, both in the draft and in free agency. But I'm just having trouble wrapping my mind around how do you put yourself in this position again? First round bye, 2 byes in the last few weeks of play with full health coming in. You can't gamble on that going forward in the NFL, especially with a small Super Bowl window chances for the Titans or any team to get back in a position like that at full health are slim to none. And I'm furious. It makes me just not want to watch football through the Super Bowl, and I just don't know where to go from here. I'm going to articulate it more on the podcast at some point, but I'm just disgusted, and I'm going to have to hang up now before I cry.
I love you, buddy.
I could hear it breaking there towards the end. I heard him breaking a little bit.
The podcast, by the way, that he's referencing is Football and Other F Words, wherever it is that you get your podcast. Lebowski does that fine football program that will be must listen.
Gonna hang up before I cry.
Yeah. Hell, hold it in there, big man. Keep it together, bud. Speaks for a lot of people today. You know when the last time the Titans had a first-round bye as the number 1 overall seed? 14 years. 14 years. Lucas, where were you in 2008?
2008, I was rocking in 7th grade.
Yep. I would have been a freshman in high school. 2008. It's a long time. It's a golden opportunity. They blew it. We're going to talk about how they blew it coming up next. And Harry Douglas of ESPN, former Titans wide receiver, is going to give us some X's and O's analysis on this game specifically, because today is the day to express what Lebowski just expressed. Disgust, disappointment. Tomorrow begins the process of putting this thing back together. But for the next hour, we got you. 615-737-1045. That's coming up next. I'm Buck Reising. It's 1045 The Zone.
It is 12:01. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titan season concluded on Saturday in Nissan Stadium, falling 19-16 to the Cincinnati Bengals in the divisional round. Despite sacking Joe Burrow 9 times, tied a playoff record. 3 interceptions by Ryan Tannehill, too much to overcome, including picks thrown on the first and final pass attempts of the day. Evan McPherson's 52-yard field goal at the end of regulation sends the Bengals into the AFC Championship game. Mike Vrabel met with the media wrapping up the season about an hour ago. Here's part of what Vrabel had to say about moving forward this week.
I think we're just trying to work through some of the sting of the loss and, get these guys in here today, get them checked out, meet with them. Then John and I will have, discussions and things as we enter into free agencies and players that have contracts that are expiring, what the players' plan are to go and try to improve in the offseason.
It was a wild weekend of divisional round football in the NFL playoffs. The road team won the first 3 games of the weekend by a last-second field goal, and then the Bills and Chiefs in a shootout won by Kansas City in overtime. The Chiefs will host the Bengals in the AFC title game. The Rams will host the Niners in the NFC. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour, for us at least, on this Monday. Don't worry, plenty more time to react all day long here on 104.5 The Zone. Buck Reising here with you for just about 57 more minutes. Lucas Panzica, he's making everything happen. He's been fielding your phone calls all day long. The number, quite simple, 615-737-1045. That's how you jump in. Lines are locked and loaded to react to the Titans' failure against the Cincinnati Bengals on Saturday at Nissan Stadium as the number 1 overall seed. We're going to explain the way that went down in greater detail with Harry Douglas, former Titans wide receiver. He's going to join us here in just about 15 minutes from now. Harry now doing great expert analysis on the NFL for ESPN. He'll be with us momentarily, and he was in town on Saturday. I was hanging out with Jarrell Casey, Brian Arakpo, Wesley Woodyard. We were all at the Gary Ashton tailgate. It was good to see Woodyard. In fact, I didn't recognize him for a second because I was walking from pregame radio outside of the pro shop over to the Gary Ashton tailgate. And there's this dude who's crouched down. He's got a phone pointed up for me. And my first thought is, what the hell, did Gary hire a photographer for this tailgate? And then I look a little closer and I walk by, and it's Wesley Woodyard that's taking a video of me, and I completely did not recognize them. They all look great, and they were all in town because it's an exciting opportunity for the team that they spent so many years bleeding, sweating, and playing on the football field for. Number 1 overall seed. They got a beatable opponent. Go out and get it done. As I'm watching Jamar Chase catch that first pass at the field goal line, basically, or at the what do they call that line for field goals, Lucas, on television? Do you know what I'm talking about? Where they have the red graphic that says this is the line that you can kick the field goal from. This is field goal range. The field goal range line.
Sure.
There's probably a more technical term for it. Anyway, Jamar Chase, the Cincinnati Bengals should never have gotten the ball back with 26 seconds remaining as they did, and yet they did because interception number 3 came their way. Now, Mike Vrabel just met with the media, and he was asked about Todd Downing. And I want you to hear this answer from the Titans head coach about the offensive coordinator, and we'll react to it together. This was Mike Vrabel not 20 minutes ago.
I think Todd does a great job. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a hard worker. There's always going to be calls you'd like to have back. There's plays you'd like to have back. But I don't evaluate things. I try to see how guys communicate with each other, the players. Are we all on the same page? Is there good communication? How do we do on third down? How do we do in the red zone? And, things have to be better in all 3 phases each and every year. But, I love the relationship that Todd has with the assistant coaches and the players, and we'll all continue to improve.
That make you feel better? Probably not. Reminds you of when Mike Vrabel was talking about Shane Bowen at the end of the 2020 season when they're historically bad as far as NFL teams are concerned on third down. Again, Todd Downing's offense yesterday, why these questions are being asked, they were 1 of 8 on third down. Just over 12% of their third downs were they able to convert. They were not able to manage things in the red zone. They had 3 total turnovers, and the play calling in those moments, while I understand we're doing the analysis after we have the result, there are some instances where you can do that and say, okay, I completely understand what they were thinking there. Like the decision to go for 2. A lot of people pissed off about that yesterday. From my vantage point, even though it ended up being a tie game at that time, 6-all, as opposed to 7-6 in favor of the Titans after the Derrick Henry King Cat run-in, I understood what Vrabel was doing there. In fact, the numbers would tell you every time, do that. Go for 2 in that moment. Now, the play calling execution, you can talk about that again, but the correct decision to go for it was there based on the fact that you just gotten the penalty, get you a little closer, and you have that opportunity to swing momentum in that way. You may disagree with that. That's all well and good, but that's not the largest issue today. The largest issue was the play calling, and as I understand, Ryan Tannehill did poorly to execute. The more that I go back and watch this, the more that I realize that this was not the kind of result that an offense constructed like this deserved. Ryan Tannehill was asked about his performance Saturday with post-game media. And Ryan Tannehill's evaluation of his own performance was this when speaking with us after the fact.
It was a frustrating day. All the way around, Great opportunity and didn't make the plays we needed to go win. Defense played a heck of a game. Really dominated, and it's fun to watch them play. But we didn't make enough plays to win it. This hurts bad. Didn't think we'd be having this conversation right now. Not my vision for the game at all. But we had an opportunity there at the end, and there's no doubt in my mind we're going to go down and get points.
They had plenty of opportunities to win that game. In fact, I told you they had more explosive plays down the field than the Buffalo Bills did in that insane result between them and the Kansas City Chiefs. We haven't even talked about the spectacular weekend of football that there was. Why would you? This is the most ridiculous result in the NFL this weekend, and that includes the Packers losing to the 49ers, both 1 seeds going down this weekend. But when you talk about the situation, the difference between Todd Downing and Shane Bowen from last season to this season, Todd Downing had all the pieces theoretically in place. He had a quarterback that is good enough, and I do mean good enough. They have A.J. Brown. They have Julio Jones. They had 2 bye weeks basically throughout the last month and a half of the season. They had Derrick Henry, as good as he's going to be, and a high-functioning, by the way, Deontay Foreman. And they scored 16 points. And they made ill-advised decisions on the 3 interceptions that were thrown. They continued to throw the ball in places where it felt exceedingly questionable when the running game was having the kind of effect that it was, and your defense was just out there bludgeoning the Cincinnati Bengals. Harry Douglas is going to explain the final interception, and we'll go through all 3 interceptions with Harry coming up next, but there's still time for you to get in on the phone lines in our final hour here. 615-737-1045. We got Wilder in Old Hickory who wants to weigh in. What's up, Wilder?
Hey, my man. How you doing? With all the injuries and everything you hear about the whole season, I would have to think that Todd Downing was a big reason that we did get to where we did. He is a fine fella. Personally can speak to that. But, nobody cares about anybody's character anymore. It's all just couch coaching. And but to me, I haven't heard anybody talk about the fact that these 3 interceptions were not, classic bonehead interceptions. I mean,
correct.
You got the one, that the commentator even said that, was a fantastic defensive play and, trying to get something going early, but it wasn't like it was something that set the tone for the game because it was really, if you watch the recap, it was a very, very balanced, great game. I know there was a lot of parts that were frustrating.
Oh, the coach just spoke to it, Wilder, did he not? Mike Vrabel said they felt very much like that was their style of game. It felt that way. I'd agree.
Right. But the other two interceptions, I mean, a batted pass and then one that just bounced off the receiver, I don't see why Tannehill, I mean, he gave it all yesterday. I really thought. I mean, running like a boss, not, sliding, just trying to get it done. The whipping boys, the culture of NFL now is just who's on the chopping block.
Sure.
The interceptions are attached to Tannehill, so you. It's like, but look at the interceptions.
Look at the interceptions.
And there were some amazing plays. I mean, that one-handed grab, that in the end zone, A.J. Brown, that was not just A.J. Brown. That was an amazing pass. And I just think it's absurd when people lose that they just turn on folks so fast, and that's just the way it is. But I just, I'm sick of the chopping block nature of it all. So that's all I got, my man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for the call very much. 615-737-1045. We're going to go point by point because he said he hasn't heard anybody talk about the interceptions. Well, that's exactly what we're going to do with Harry Douglas. Wilder, I've just been wanting to keep you around for that long because I told you we were going to do it. We're going to do it with Harry coming up next. Been a bit therapeutic today. Welcome back here on 104.5 The Zone. I don't know if you feel better. I don't know if you're more pissed off. I don't know if this has just brought you largely apathy about the way that the Titans lost to the Bengals on Saturday. They're playing in the AFC Championship game now, Bengals at Chiefs, because the Titans gave away the opportunity to host the AFC Championship game. Harry Douglas going to join us in a second, former Titans wide receiver and ESPN NFL analyst. So some more time for a few phone calls before we get out of here for the day. Gavin is in Nashville up next, wants to chime in. What's up, Gavin?
Hey, Buck. Thanks for having me on. I got a couple of points that I want to touch on. The first one being the 2-point conversion that we went for. I stand behind that. I think, this many years in, we know how Vrabel is. He's in it to win it, and he's going to go for the 4th downs and the 2 points and stuff like that. So
it was the correct decision. I'm with you.
I support that. As far as the Tannehill bashing that's been going on, I don't think that we can hold him at fault, solely to his fault. I think there was some questionable throws, specifically the third interception, throwing to a wide receiver 3 in triple coverage was not the best decision when you've got Ferguson wide open going across the middle.
Correct.
But I don't understand, the play calling from Todd Downing, after the 40 or 50-yard Foreman run, and then they want to throw a bubble screen immediately after that, which resulted in an interception. And doing a quarterback draw or a QB option on 3rd and 1 or whatever it was, and Henry had a wide open hole straight up the middle, but Tannehill kept it. And then they're going to give the ball to Henry immediately after that, and he gets stuffed at the line. It's just I don't understand the play calling. I'm no coach, and none of these people calling in are coaches. So we're not experts in this. But just from what we see as fans, that's my opinion on it. And I just think the play calling needs to be cleaned up, before we ever have a chance to win a playoff football game. Because had the Titans won that game, they would have gotten stomped next week, whether they played Buffalo or Kansas City, if they played the similar type of game that they did Saturday.
Thanks for the call, Gavin. I'm not an expert. Well, I'm a little bit of an expert. Maybe not much of an expert, but I got more expertise on the phone line because I got Harry Douglas. Harry, what's up, buddy?
What's up, bro? Good to be on after that disappointing Saturday.
Oh, my goodness. Harry, when I saw you down there on the field before, when I saw you Friday night at the pep rally, I did not think that we would be having this conversation. This was shocking. What stood out? What one word would you use to describe what you witnessed at Nissan Stadium?
Atrocious. By offensive coordinator Todd Downing, and atrocious, very, very atrocious by the quarterback player Ryan Tannehill. I don't think I've seen a more disappointing game played by a quarterback in the playoffs in my life that I've been living. Honestly, I don't. You look at how the game started off. I definitely don't agree with starting off the game with a play-action pass. I mean, just hand the ball off. But that resulted in an interception. He's staring down the receiver. The first drive of the second half resulted in an interception. The last play of the game resulted in an interception. And I just didn't think Ryan Tannehill played a brand of football that gave this team a chance. I don't know what more you could ask the defense to do. They sacked the quarterback 9 times. Not only that, though, the play calling. I didn't agree with a lot of the play calling that happened in that football game as well.
Harry Douglas with us here on 104.5 The Zone. At HDouglas83 is where you can find him on social media. Of course, First Take, he's all over the place breaking down the games for ESPN. Harry, what you said about Tannehill resonates with a lot of people today, but your analysis on social media of Todd Downing's play calling, understanding that Ryan Tannehill is the franchise quarterback and he has to make better decisions. Do you think he was adequately put in enough positions to succeed?
I mean, at the end of the day, he has to make the plays, but Todd Downing should have did what Kyle Shanahan did with Jimmy G, right? Put it in the running back's hand the ball off in certain cases. You look at the interception when he tried to – so the nickel corner came on a slot blitz, right? And usually in the run game, you would throw that bubble screen. But what had transpired to get to that point, no matter what the circumstances were, I'm handing that football off. And if I'm Todd Downing, I'm calling a play no matter what, to hand that football off. So Ryan Tannehill's not even in that position. And then I want to bring up the 3rd and 1, towards the end of the game. 3rd and 1, right? First of all, Julio's not in the game.
Yep.
And then that's a problem to me. But then you have the Cincinnati Bengals playing man coverage and stacking the box. You have A.J. Brown one-on-one. You have the 2 corners in the short side of the field decide that they want to play man press on the same level. There's no way in hell, Buck, when I decide to coach, which is far down the line, am I ever going to let corners on a football field be double man pressed and on the same level against any receiver I have on a football field? That was the opportunity, especially if you knew you're going for it on 4th down. That's the opportunity to take a shot. But negate that. If you don't want to take a shot, I'm not giving Ryan Tannehill the ball to run it. I like my chances with my running back one-on-one with a linebacker in the hole. If we can't get 1 yard, then hell, we don't deserve to get it.
That's what I'm saying, Harry. Like, I'm livid watching that game back because, listen, my thing all year long is Ryan Tannehill clearly has limitations, but we have seen adequately him put in positions to succeed. Don't put him in a position to lose you the game with plays like that. I understand he is important. I understand that the quarterback is the most important and impactful position. But I came away from rewatching that game a couple of times, as I know you did, spitting angry that was the position he was put in.
And, Buck, I'll take it a step further. The last drive of the game, I didn't think the clock was managed the correct way either.
What the hell is that, Harry? What is that?
But, Buck, you have a 3rd and 5 situation. Why are you calling routes that are longer than the 1st down marker?
Ugh.
I can see a yard or 2. But 3, 4, 5 yards down the field, it doesn't make sense. And then Ryan Tannehill, I'm not throwing the ball to my 3rd-string receiver in that situation. If you're going to force the ball to somebody, force it to Julio. Force it to A.J. Brown. Force it to guys who's made plays in this league over and over and over again. Not to mention the tight end was wide open underneath for the 1st down.
Yeah.
Just dump it off to him.
Ferkser's running free there on a crossing pattern underneath, and it looks like Ryan Tannehill never saw him or never looked at him, staring down Nick Westbrook-Akina the way that he did Julio Jones on the first interception, the first freaking play of the game. Harry Douglas, former Titans wide receiver, ESPN NFL analyst, is our guest here on 104.5 The Zone. Harry, when you watch the rest of the divisional round games, as I know you did, a lot of the criticism here locally has been, well, they don't have the kind of offense in Tennessee that can compete with Kansas City, that can compete with Buffalo in this side of the bracket. But when I looked at the amount of explosive plays, Harry, that they had, while they only came away with 16 points, I feel like that's not necessarily an accurate assessment, even though you saw Mahomes and Allen both go God mode last night.
Buck, I got to stop you right there. The offense needs to be updated. It needs to be more innovative. I'm sorry, I'm going to tell you, because, see, you can beat those teams in the regular season, but when it comes to that postseason, Joe Burrow's not going anywhere. Justin Herbert's not going anywhere. Patrick Mahomes isn't going anywhere. Josh Allen isn't going anywhere. Who am I missing? Lamar Jackson isn't going anywhere. All these guys aren't going anywhere.
Right.
So if your guy can't win it with his arm, and I'll bring up a little nugget, 2019, the Titans went to the AFC Championship game, and they went up in that game against Patrick Mahomes, right, the Chiefs.
I was there.
When the Chiefs came back, and now you need Ryan Tannehill, his arm, to get you back in standings, did it get done or did it not get done?
It did not get done.
That's my point exactly. The way the league is moving now and the way these young quarterbacks, when I mean young quarterbacks, I mean 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th-year guys. They're not going anywhere, Buck. So I need Todd Downing to use the weapons that he has on his football team more effectively. When I was there for the Bills game, that's one of the things I took away from watching that game, and I said it throughout the year. And I understand guys have been in and out of the lineup, but you have to draw up things. You had a bye week that you could have drew up all kind of different things and not be so vanilla offensively.
They looked exactly the same as they have all year long,
yes,
Harry. It's inexplicable to me. Inexplicable. Yep. In that moment. I think, and it's a point well made, because we've seen this play out, and that then becomes the question, have we now seen the peak of Ryan Tannehill and this offense, or with this offense here in Tennessee? And I don't know necessarily what the answer to that question is, Harry, because I'm watching that game plan, and your colleague at ESPN, Matt Bowen, as I'm watching these cut-ups that he's putting out on social media, his analysis of the Titans' passing game structure cannot be, quote, limited by play design. I was banging my head against the console in here reading that today.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like you brought Julio over for a reason. Now, granted, he hasn't been out there all year, but he was in the playoff game, right? He was healthy.
He was
A.J.
healthy
Brown
in
was
Week
healthy.
18. He was healthy in the playoff game.
Yep. So I just need them to utilize these weapons a lot more. Go to empty where you can survey the defense. Let's see who has the best matchup. Everything can't just be play action pass all the time. I understand it's good and running the football is good, and you have to run the football effectively in the playoffs to move on. But you go down in the game, you're going to need the pass game to come back, right? You need your quarterback to make plays. You need to have vital options and plays to be able to do that, to do so. And I don't think the Tennessee Titans had that within that game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Look, Joe Burrow got sacked 9 times.
Ugh.
He took body blow after body blow after body blow. He still threw for 300 plus though.
Yeah.
So you have to match these guys. You have to. When your quarterback is called upon and got to make these plays, he has to make those plays. You can't turn the ball over 3 times. 3 interceptions, 3 bad interceptions too.
The comparison that I look at for Tannehill right now, Harry, is he reminds me a lot of Bengals version Andy Dalton, right? Where they continue to make the playoffs, where he's good enough to get you there, but when you need him to help you get over the hump, it's not necessarily so, right? That 2019 run was very, very distinctly Derrick Henry driven. And as we've seen, that workload isn't necessarily sustainable for a player at that position, no matter how great Derrick is. Is that you study the college game as well? You've seen so many of these college quarterbacks throughout the course of this year, Harry. They're picking 26th in this year's draft. Is there a quarterback that they can bring in that you think can legitimately push Ryan Tannehill this year?
Yeah, through trade. Yeah. Not through the draft, I don't think so. I think you need to wait till the 2023 draft to see if you want to go that route. But if you're going to look for another quarterback, and at this point, this is Harry GM had all options on the table right now. I mean, I understand they just paid Ryan Tannehill, but listen, your job is to survey the team, and no option is off of the table. Everything is on the table, and if it's a move that's going to make us better offensively at that position, and you have an opportunity to make it, you got to make it. If you do not feel like it's a move that will make you better in the long run, then you don't do it. And then you can still wait to 2023 because I think that draft class is going to be way better than the 2022 draft class.
They've shown a commitment to doing that this past season, Harry. This was the year that they pushed their chips into the center of the table. They don't restructure people's deals. John Robinson famously does not like kicking the cap can down the road, but they restructured this quarterback to make room for Julio as one of their big acquisitions, along with what they did in free agency. And at this point, they botched it. What did you make of Cincinnati, Harry? Because I was shocked that they didn't get Joe Burrow more help on 3rd down. I did not think that Zach Taylor did much better of a job in that football game.
No, he didn't. Especially when it came coming into the game, knowing Joe Burrow was sacked the most in the NFL with 51 sacks, and then you had the Tennessee Titans sack him 9 times. I got to give credit to Joe Burrow though, because
so good.
Not one time did he turn that football over, and I think it was either the last sack or second to last sack. I don't know how he held onto that ball, but Bud Dupree swiped his arm as he was going down, and I don't know how in the hell, but he held onto that football. But if the Titans would have got that football right there in midfield, that would have been glorious. But going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, you look at Chris Jones, you look at Wharton, you look at Okafor, you look at Melvin Ingram. All those guys played well last night. You're going to have to protect the quarterback. But it also is going to be a shootout, the kind of game that the Cincinnati Bengals don't mind playing because they have the weapons offensively.
Harry Douglas at HDouglas83 is where you follow him on social media. Great play breakdowns, better football analysis, ESPN. He's all over the place. Harry, it was great to see you this weekend, buddy, and I'm sorry that I won't get to see you probably in the playoffs or at least until next season, but it was always good to catch up.
Good to be on, Buck. You have a good one, man.
Harry Douglas there with us on 104.5 The Zone. 615-737-1045 What do you think about what Harry had to say? Because his indictment of Ryan Tannehill, much more stinging than the one I offered you, but we are aligned in the sense that Todd Downing did not do a good enough job, especially coming off that much time to prepare.
But all the indictments of Downing, everything Harry just said, not innovative enough, right? These were all being said throughout the course of the season, right? These
Correct.
gripes were very consistent this year with Todd Downing.
Correct.
The excuse was he had Nick Westbrook-Akina and Chester Rogers out there.
You know what changed?
He got everybody back.
He got everybody back, Lucas.
But I'm just saying, I think the complaints that a lot of fans had throughout the regular season and that were told, well, what's he supposed to do? He doesn't have anybody.
Sure.
They've very much held true.
No, these things can be done in layers. You know what I'm saying? Like, these things can be so throughout the course of the regular season. Now, not being in their meeting rooms, my thought, and in trying to, find out a little bit more, is basically, yeah, these guys are coming in on short notice and they're being put into the game plan. The coaching staff is having to devise a game plan that works for these players on short notice, basically. The Dontrell Hilliards, Deontay Foreman's, Cody Hollister, the different parts and pieces that you're having to toss into the lineup. From that standpoint, I would completely understand a limited play calling selection because you only have so much that new guys can digest. Completely so. But do not get out there with that collection of skill position players, as healthy as they've ever been, and botch it. It cannot be. You have enough time to put together a game plan that looks more potent than that. 16 points. Unacceptable. And all Cincinnati did was pick up on your tendencies and try and suffocate you at every opportunity. And you gave them plenty. 615-737-1045. I got Randy in Madison, Tennessee, up next on 104.5 The Zone. What's up, Randy?
Yes, I just want to start off by saying I'm not disappointed, but I'm pissed off.
Sure.
Because the first thing is I was looking for Vrabel to get up there and say, it starts with him, it ends with him. And we didn't get that from him.
Well, you got that. In fairness, Randy, you got that on Saturday night. I don't know if you watched the press conference, but he did take the accountability.
I saw some of it, but I might have missed that part.
Okay.
Then when Tannehill got up there, it's What's the number one thing in NFL football that goes on? The quarterback gets all the credit, all the glory, and he gets all the blame.
That's right.
So for all these fans and people that's calling in making excuses, NFL teams is built to win championships. If they don't win it, hold Jerry Jones accountable for the Cowboys. Hey, it's championship or it's a bust. We are at the edge of championship or it's a bust. We're not paying out all these millions of dollars to have a good winning record for the season now. We done upgraded past that. We got Tannehill because he could. We replaced Mariota because we brought Tannehill in because he could make the throws Mariota couldn't make. He could make the throws. But then we started seeing interceptions, little things, and other things factor in. We can go there and question that all day long with what everybody's saying. But still, at this point, they're missing something. Something is going on between the quarterback, the offensive coordinator. Because I just knew after getting prepped for this that I was going to see A.J. Brown on the left, Julio on the right, Henry on the left, and our boy Foreman on the right. Something they ain't never seen before.
Well, I don't know about, your play calling tendencies, Randy, but I would say to you, they didn't do anything that we hadn't seen from them all year long. Just wasn't done. 615-737-1045. Preston is calling us from Texas up next here in Nashville on 104.5 The Zone. Hello, Preston.
Hey, Buck, what's going on, man?
Not much.
I want to give my thoughts on this game. Harry, he changed some of my opinions on Tannehill, some of those play calls and stuff. The first one, that's on Tannehill. He threw it late. But at the same time, too, it's like Todd Downing is getting his play calls from Madden or something. Stick with what works. Run the ball, especially when you get first and go from the 9. But also, too, I can't remember. I want to say it was the second quarter. Tannehill missed A.J. Brown. AJ Brown beat the coverage.
Over the top, yeah. Over the top.
I don't know if AJ slowed down or if it was just an overthrow. But at the end of the day, big-time players show up in big-time games. And unfortunately, as a fellow West Texan, Tannehill didn't do that. But it's also all not on him because he was not put in a position to succeed.
If you have a quarterback like this, you understand that there are some deficiencies. Again, I will say to you, Ryan Tannehill is good enough to win. The job of the coaching staff is to be better around him. Last call for phone calls. Coming up next, we'll do some polls, and then we got this story from Scoop Nashville that apparently I've been photographed in for that we need to talk about because it's deeply, deeply concerning. And I'm being aggregated for clout, Lucas. Not about it. It's coming up next.
McPherson, right hash. Harris to snap it. Snap, set, kick. It's good. McPherson has sent the Cincinnati Bengals to the AFC Championship game, knocking off the Tennessee Titans by a final score of 19-16.
That's how it ends. It was fun while it lasted, but it's over. Tomorrow we start the process anew. Now listen, I'm going down to Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. We're going to be doing the show from there. We'll talk about the draft. We've got plenty of time this week to talk about the quarterback. Apparently, for locker room cleanout day, only one offensive player, Lucas, was made available. And that was A.J. Brown. And now Ryan Tannehill spoke to us last night. Taylor Lewan spoke to us last night. Deontay Foreman, Derrick Henry, on and on. But I'd imagine that people want to hear from more offensive players today.
That's also a day where a lot of guys, they just get their stuff and get out, right?
Oh, hell yes.
I mean, just don't spend any time.
No, honestly, the way that it should be framed is good on A.J. Brown for sticking around to do it, because I know a lot of dudes got the hell out of there. And, I know Titans PR may get some flack for that, but, there's only so much you can do to stop a 300-pound rage monster from leaving when he wants to leave.
Well, I remember 2019 being in there when, before you could be in locker rooms, when Tannehill – basically, when he had all his stuff, he was getting out of there, and there was a crowd of reporters. Oh, Ryan's like, guys, it's not happening today.
Not happening today. It's a real thing. Last call for phone calls, 615-737-1045. And then we do like Ron Slay. Tomorrow we wash it all away. We got Ricky in West End who's up next. Keep it short, Ricky. I only got a little bit of time. What's up, buddy?
Real quick, I think everybody's missing a key cog to what went wrong this season. His name is John Robinson. And when you look at what he's replaced and what he brought in and what he didn't keep in Johnny Smith, Corey Davis, and then he's spending $15 million a year for Julio, making Ryan Tannehill's contract go from 25 to 38 next year. And then when he sees an injured player that's available. So I think there's a lot of things that needs to be addressed by John Robinson in this offseason, and part of that's his bad drafting and his bad contracts. That's all.
Appreciate the call. Listen, I think, John, honestly, for them to still win basically the 1 seed with 91 different players, I don't know that my criticism would go to John Robinson today. Now, how they manage it in the future, this is, of course, the GM scrutiny season. So we will have a lot to talk about, because the last 2 draft classes you have not gotten legitimate contributions from in ways that you need to. Steve is in Nashville up next. What's up, Steve?
This is B.
It's who?
It's B.
Okay, it's B. My call screener says Steve. It's cool. It's cool. What you got?
Yeah, man. I just want to speak on Tannehill. I just feel like we've been protecting him and saying that he can lead us here and do this. But what have he done for us in the playoffs? If he throw the ball over more than 15 times in the playoffs, we're gonna lose. It's proven. Look at the run we had. Well, he's having games with 14 passes, 7 completions, 90 yards. What we expect, man? Yeah, play calling bad. It was a lot of stuff with the read option, but that was more so Tannehill could have handed it off. It's he don't think in the moment he gets so rushed and everything. He just freak out. I seem especially with the interception throwing in crowds and everything, staring down receivers. But that's all I got, man.
Thanks for the call, B. Jimmy Garoppolo's playing for an NFC Championship game. Don't tell me you can't do better with Ryan Tannehill. Polls.
What it's time for. A poll update on the Buck Reising Show. Here's a young man with a very particular set of skills. With the final numbers, here's Buck Reising Show correspondent and producer, Lucas Panzica.
Oh, the club music doesn't feel right today, I'll admit.
It's so inappropriate.
Yeah, doesn't feel... Sorry about that. A little tone deaf.
Who are you apologizing to? We do the show. The show goes on.
Which loss hurt worse? 2008 Divisional, 2019 AFC Championship, or the 2021 Divisional on Saturday? Almost 2,000 votes. 79% say it was this past Saturday. 13% say it was 2019. 8% go back to 2008.
Not great, Bob.
George kind of sums it up. He says, I think it's this year because it cemented for me the depressing fact that your NFL and especially AFC existence are ultimately pointless if you don't have an elite QB.
Yeah, I don't know that that's true, because one of the MVP of the league It's funny, the irony. The MVP of the league and Aaron Rodgers and the coach of the year and Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
They're both sitting on the couch today.
What do you think the Titans need to fix more, Downing or Tannehill? 77% say Downing.
Yeah, man. I think that you have to find a way to make it work with Ryan Tannehill. You can find another quarterback to draft on that roster. Trading, I don't think, is going to be the answer. Although, listen, the Saints and the Bucks have shown us that the salary cap is less real than we believe it to be. What I'll say to you is that Ryan Tannehill is in all likelihood going to be a quarterback on the roster next season. It's how you go about trying to bring in somebody to push him next year.
Is Todd Downing 2020 Shane Bowen? 57% say no.
Yeah, no, it feels much different. This is a much different experience.
Has the title, right?
Yeah, he has the title. He can't grow that beard, and his offense was as stacked as Shane Bowen's. He can't grow that beard. It's true. It's just true. There's something to be said about the beard.
Should Deontay Foreman have gotten more than 4 carries? 95% believe yes.
And I think Derrick Henry was fine. I don't think that's an indictment of Derrick. I think that they could have done more to get Foreman involved, given the fact that Henry was fine, but you clearly had something with Foreman.
Those are the polls.
Those are the polls. All right. I know we didn't get to everybody's phone calls today. I appreciate how many people wanted to interact. We're going to continue to talk about this at great length tomorrow, and we'll get into legitimate options. What can be done about the Ryan Tannehill situation? If you didn't get in today, feel free to give us a call tomorrow, and we're grateful that you guys are going to hang with us because the offseason, damn, it's going to be an interesting one, and it starts officially today. Talk to you tomorrow. Blaine and Mickey, they got you covered the rest of the afternoon. Full reaction, 3HL as well, right here on your flagship home for Titans football. Not this season anymore, but moving forward on 104.5 The Zone.